We will now start the press conference with FlyQuest. First question from Pentecan. Bucio, please predict your next match opponent.
Who is it between?
I believe it's between, what, AL and...
Isn't it T1? Isn't it
T1?
T1
T1? BLG?
Okay. I predict we will be facing T1.
Inspired?
I think we'll be playing against BLG. I think T1 is gonna win 3-1 or 3-0 against BLG.
Next question from Pentecan. Inspired. Skumon mentioned that you are the strongest jungler from Europe. How did you feel facing him today?
I do think he played pretty well. I think it was really hard to get a lead over him. I think in game 1 he was in a really solid spot with Maokai, and game 2, even though he got invaded, he managed to recover pretty well. I was pretty surprised that he managed to hit level 6 really fast with Vi, and then I think he was doing a good job in team fights. I think first 2 games he played pretty well. I think in game 3 he just made some mistakes, but I felt like all of the players on G2 in game 3 were nervous. I think starting from the draft, I think the draft was pretty bad. I think game 3 draft really bad. I think game 1 and 2 they were pretty good, but game 3 they did a really bad draft, and all of the players made a lot of mistakes. So the game was pretty easy, and I felt like he just couldn't do anything in game 3 after he made one mistake. So.
Follow-up question from Mize Esports. Do you consider this to be a series of better jungler wins?
I don't know, honestly. I feel like it is maybe, but it's not like he had much counterplay. I think he was just doing his job. I think his teammates sometimes just inted a bit too much. So that happens when you feed the jungler.
Next question, also from Mize Esports, over to Bucio. What was the idea behind choosing Bard in Game 2? At the beginning of the lane, it seemed like you wouldn't have an advantage, but you performed very well at the fights. So what was the strategy?
The strategy was just, I like playing Bard, and it was a reasonable spot. It wasn't a very juicy one either for the lane. It was pretty solid for the game, but it wasn't the best pick. I just kind of felt like playing it.
Next question from Namin, Inspired. The only other best-of-5 win you've taken over Caps was in 2021 spring, an infamous year for the Western GOAT.
Yeah.
This time, though, he's performing individually. It feels like G2 isn't functioning properly or maybe not meeting expectations. So what do you think is going on with this roster, and what would you change, if anything?
I don't know, honestly. It felt like they are lacking a lot of confidence when they play, but it's also really hard to perform well at the international tournament when your jungle and support are like rookies. I'm pretty sure Rabrov and Skimon never played at international tournament, so it's not easy to go into that and play very well against the best teams in the world. So I feel like they need some time, and eventually they will play better, because I don't think they have bad players. I think they just were a bit too aggressive when they shouldn't be playing aggressive, and they played a bit too passive when they could pressure a bit more, and they just made some silly mistakes. And it seems like they are also not very confident in themselves after probably losing the final and not having, I assume, not having the best scrims results. It seemed like they were not super confident.
Next question from Mize Esports. So looking at both FlyQuest series, where do you think your most notable evolution was, and what do you think is still missing from the team?
I don't know if there was ever a special evolution. I think we just play a bit better than we used to. I think against Asian teams you need to not lose lane too hard if you want to beat them, because basically that's every game of League. If you lose lane, it's hard to win a game, and they are usually really good at laning. So I think with the more time passing and more games we lose, we learn, and then we try to not lose in a similar fashion, and then eventually we are gonna be able to get out of the lane well in the well spot, and then hopefully we will perform well in teamfights, because I think we teamfight well, but it's just a problem if we don't get there at the even footing. And I think with more reps and more practice, we are getting better at laning against the best teams.
Following up on that, how would you compare your performance today versus the one against anyone's legend? What did you think changed between the two series?
You want to answer?
Sure. AL is a much stronger team than G2, so it's possible we didn't play much better, but we definitely reviewed the games from AL and did small improvements, And yeah, the main difference is the opponent's skill level. But also we did learn some valuable things, especially me, about like how AL was using their vision when they were in winning positions.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. I felt like maybe I even played a bit better against AL, but opponent was like not giving any openings. I felt more like as a driver during the game against AL. Here against G2, the game was kind of chaotic, and we were winning the fights kind of easily as well. They were just giving the fights away, while against AL, they never gave us a fight for free that we would just win. So yeah, yesterday the last time against AL I was really focused. Today I felt like I was focused a bit less, but the game was easier. I think they were just a weaker team. They didn't have that good of a plan, and AL was like they were planning everything ahead. It felt like just from the beginning, when their jungler was pathing to the same side as me, and he was getting leashed on the buff in order to be there a bit faster and contest me. I already knew that they have really good planning, and it's gonna be a really tough game. But yeah, and it happened pretty much every game, and it didn't happen against G2, so it just felt a bit easier to play.
Question from FD News, maybe over to Busio. During this match, FlyQuest as a team made some mistakes that had let G2 make small comebacks during games 2 and 3. But what are your thoughts on how G2 didn't seem to punish those mistakes?
Yeah, I mean, as Inspired was saying, G2 just isn't that confident, and they weren't really using their winning positions to put us into bad spots. I mean, they did do a couple things, but then they either messed up mechanically or we outplayed them. But honestly, like games 1 and 2 were back and forth almost the entire time, so it just came down to like fighting and who would make a bigger mistake.
And finally, over to Inspired from Namin. Tomorrow, your former teammate Jojo will face Hongq, who has received a lot of praise for his performance against Faker.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that matchup will go?
And honestly, I do think that Jojo was kind of gapping Knight when they played against each other. But I think his teammates were just not as good as the enemy teammates. So hopefully this time his team is gonna step up, and I do think he's gonna perform very well, and I do think they will win. So yeah, I'm cheering for him.
And that concludes the press conference with FlyQuest. Thank you.
Thank you.